So the movement in Super Mario 64 is so good that it kind of pisses me off. We've had 3 decades of 3D video game development since this game came out, and it still somehow feels better to play than like 99% of video games. There is a profound sense of immediacy to this game. You can feel a very direct connection between the length of these button presses and the height of these jumps. There's a granularity to this. It's tactile, right? Mario 64 is like alive. Great way to feel this is with the triple jump in this game. Look at all the cute little variations I could throw in here, and the game is still like, ooh yeah, girl, that is a triple jump. There's an open-endedness to the movement in Mario 64 that later 3D Mario titles seem to refuse to replicate. You can side flip out of anything in this game. You can start a triple jump out of anything in this game. You can wall jump out of a long jump, and oh my god, don't even get me started on the long jump. The long jump in Super Mario 64 is like the sexiest move ever put into a video game. It goes so fast, it goes so far, your brain develops a symbiotic relationship with the length and speed of this long jump that will stay with you for the rest of your life. The long jump and I have been married for 50 beautiful years. Have you ever noticed how precise the wall kicks are in the, god damn it. In most games that are not named Super Metroid, you kind of just spam the button to do wall jumps, and it doesn't really feel like a mechanic. It kind of just feels like a thing that you need to do to get up to a platform that is above your stupid head. In Super Mario 64, wall jumping is like a thing that you get good at, like it would be in real life, despite the fact that every subsequent 3D Mario game, in some ways, tweaks and one might even say improves on the movement formula of Super Mario 64. They never quite touch it, do they? They never quite... Oh, it's actually like kind of annoying like to turn around in this game. Like if you're going in one direction and you want to go in the other, you want to go in the other direction, it's kind of a pain in the ass. And unfortunately, back in the day, you had to do all of this on a Nintendo 64 controller, which is basically the equivalent of a medieval torture device. But now that the game is free to play on the Nintendo PC, you can play it with an Xbox controller and really appreciate all the nuance of the movement. Hey, speaking of the Nintendo PC, I hear they got the other one on here. What's the stupid beach one?
Super Mario Sunshine! Woohoo!
Yeah, this one. Now, I want to be clear that if you're the type of bitch who says that Super Mario Sunshine is a great game with no caveats, I fundamentally don't trust you as a human being, but let's start with the good. The movement in Super Mario Sunshine is generally fantastic, even though they removed the long jump due to what I can only assume is homophobia. The side flip is really good, it's really versatile, the window is super forgiving, which we love to see in a side flip. The spin jump is for sickos, but when you get good at it, it's badass. They ported over most of the good stuff from Super Mario 64 and added a bunch of new nonsense. There is an overwhelming amount of tech for sickos in this game. If you are a fan of tech for sickos, Super Mario Sunshine, like many games for the Nintendo GameCube, will catch your eye on a rainy street corner and steal 5 years of your life and leave you with a broken heart and carpal tunnel. Oh, and also, Flood is in this game. Flood, It's fine. The hover nozzle, it's fine. It's like you have the raccoon tail all the time, except sometimes you gotta, like, sit in a puddle about it. The turbo nozzle, it's badass and they barely use it. The rocket nozzle, it's badass and they barely use it. I really like when you're, like, running around that you can hold the charge on the rocket nozzle and then you can like jump and let go. That shit rocks. Too bad none of the levels use it. The problem is how little time you spend participating in the game's sick-ass movement options versus how often you spend participating in watermelons or chucksters or this spinning panel wall or fucking god damn it, like ignoring blue coins. And hey, who doesn't, am I right? Hey, thanks. I tallied up all of the shines in the game and categorized them into legitimate platforming challenges and stupid fucking bullshit, and it was like 37-61, which is ultimately why I think this game has a stronger legacy as a speed game than it does as a casual game. You know, like, at least among dorks. Because when you're incredible at this game, you can turn even the most nightmarish levels into sick-ass platforming challenges. But for the average person, it's like the game is constantly saying, hello, I have given you a balloon filled with lard and covered in grease. I need you to carry it for 500 miles on a unicycle, and if you make the slightest mistake, I am going to kick you in the balls and play a clown honking sound at you and laugh.
Mario.
Super Mario 64 DS is a 3D platformer that you control with a D-pad. I'm gonna be so real, man. Every single time I play these games, I like them a little bit less. What the fuck are you gonna do about it, huh? So Nintendo was really into doing this thing on the Wii where when your character has forward momentum and then they jump, all of their inertia is immediately canceled and gets replaced with Special Boy jump inertia that is exclusive to jumping and has no relation to the inertia that you just had 0.2 seconds ago. I don't know, man. Every time I come back to these games, I'm always shocked by how stiff they feel. They brought the long jump back, but it's horrifically nerfed. I don't think I've ever been so disappointed in a loved one in my entire life. Oh, except for this thing. I like that you can do this. But the long jump in this game is just so fucking slow. It's like they saw people being sexy and going fast in Super Mario 64 and said, oh no, we can't have any of that. How are you even gonna want to save your brother Luigi? You're too busy getting laid because of the long jump. What the fuck am I talking about? Now, I like the spin, all right? We all like the spin. Hey, folks, we like the spin, right? Yeah, we like the spin. I like that they recognize that having a little bit of extra bullshit in your jump in Mario Sunshine was kind of cool, right? Because in Mario 64, oh god. Unfortunately, this game was released in 2007 for the Nintendo Wii, so we all know that this very important new movement option couldn't have possibly be bound to a button. Now, let me explain this to those of you who were either fetuses or 30 when this game came out. This was a good year into the life cycle of beloved icon of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, the Nintendo Wii. We were already a little bit tired of Wii Sports at this point, and every game that came out from Nintendo's end during this time seemed like it was desperate to convince you that the fact that the controller had a pointer and an accelerometer in it was still, like, cool. And they would just, you had to shake the controller to do it's like you do it in like every jump. And I think a lot of these changes are ultimately things that make the game more accessible, right? This is a game that was released for a console that was targeted towards casual gamers and was wildly popular in that demographic. And so it makes sense that they wanted to implement slower, more controllable jumps with more powerful air movement so that your little cousin wouldn't have to fall off a cliff every 8 seconds. And this is kind of just how games on the Wii were, right? And it's not a deal breaker to me. I still think Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. The stupid fucking bullshit tally is way more favorable than Super Mario Sunshine, but they are overall less satisfying than Super Mario 64. Yeah, what about it? I don't know. I didn't play this one. But like it's probably pretty similar to
Super Mario 3D World! Meow.
the most mediocre game of all time. You know, Mario 3D World, the absolute nadir of movement in 3D Mario games. Oh, no one going to bat for this one, huh? Well, we don't got any Wii U kids in the audience? It feels like this game hates you for using its movement. Oh, you wanna run? Yeah, I guess you can run eventually. Oh, you wanna do a side flip? Sorry, I'm gonna need you to fill out these forms in triplicate and wait 6 to 8 business weeks after tilting the stick, and then maybe we'll consider approving your request for a side flip. Oh, you wanna do a triple jump? Fuck you, there isn't one. Now, you may think that the primary reason for the existence of the triple jump is to reach high platforms. However, anyone who is experienced in Mario 3D platformers knows that this is not the case. It's actually so that you can hop around while you're getting from one place to another and go haha hoo hoo wee. Mario 3D World does not understand this. Super Mario Sunshine understood that even if you were carrying a fruit, you still needed to be able to triple jump because I need to be able to go haha hoo hoo wee. They fucked it all up. They fucked it all up. Why do I have to wait so long to do a backflip? Did you know that this game doesn't even have like full 360-degree movement? You're actually locked to 8 directions when you... hang on, I'm being handed a note. Fuck me. So 48 hours ago, I had already recorded and edited a segment in which I erroneously claimed that Super Mario 3D World has 8-way directional movement and that this was changed in the Switch version. I then spent 2 straight days recording Mario running around in various scenarios and discovered that neither of these things are true. So let's start from the top here. In Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U, you can play the game on a Wii remote, and the Wii remote does not have an analog stick. So the game needs to be beatable by a player who can only move in 8 directions. When I was in college, my roommate walked in while I was playing this game on a controller and he said, "Hey, check this out. Spin the stick in a circle. Look how you move in an octagon." It's because the game doesn't have analog movement. You can only move in 8 directions. And I shouldn't have taken your word for it, Liam, because that's an inaccurate description of how the movement works in Super Mario 3D World, and by extension, its port for the Switch Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. And you would know that if you had just spent a full hour with both versions of the game running in your living room, making Mario slowly walk around and frowning disapprovingly at the screen. It's more like a digital notch. Like, it is possible to angle your character outside of one of the 8 directions, but the game will slide you towards one of them if you're not extremely precise. It is honestly one of the strangest control schemes I've ever seen in a video game. It's so subtle, but so weird once you're aware of it, and it kind of like ruins the game for you. Earlier today, my neighbor came over to hang out with me, and I explained all of this to her, and she said that this is the most unemployed thing that I've ever said. For what it's worth, the game is clearly designed around this limitation. A lot of the later levels require these wild geometric maneuvers that force you to master the game's unique movement system. Mario 3D World, it's its own thing after all. It's not trying to be a Mario Galaxy 3 or whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's good. Is there any better visual metaphor for a game that strips all of the complexity and nuance out of the movement in 3D Mario games than this? Oh, and also for some reason I thought they changed it in the Switch version. I honestly think I just got tricked by, oh yeah, did I mention in the Switch version you run fast as shit?
Follow me, set me free, trust me and we will escape from this.
Everyone was so excited when they found out about this, right? Oh my god, they fixed the movement in Mario 3D World because it's faster now. That must mean it's better, right? And when I heard this, I was like, wait. That doesn't make sense. Mario 3D World has a bunch of levels that are designed tightly around how fast your character moves. Wouldn't that just fuck up the level design? And the answer is, yeah, it did do that. Yeah, so Mario 3D World already has an issue with depth perception, right? You have very little control over the camera in this game, and so it's often hard to tell exactly where you are in relation to the platforms, almost like it's a sequel to a game made to sell a stereoscopic 3D gimmick for a middlingly popular Nintendo handheld. And the slow movement of the Wii U version mitigates this somewhat. In the Switch version, it's like controlling a broken shopping cart while wearing rollerblades. And so I cannot believe that I'm saying this, but I think Nintendo made the movement in a game faster and made it worse. I don't think that's ever happened before. Oh, and don't even get me fucking started on how overrated Bowser's Fury is. Mario Odyssey, pretty cool game. You can skip the cutscenes except when you can't. This is probably the best we're gonna get. What? Don't make fun of him. That's my Odyssey Sona. He's called Crashed the Family Benz Mario. This is probably the best we're ever gonna get from a modern 3D Mario game. They really put their whole pussy into the new moveset in this game. You can do this, you can do this, the side flip is almost as good as it used to be. But most importantly, we have to talk about this. I am going to call this the thing. I first learned how to do the thing when I was doing this Koopa race in Lake Kingdom. And, you know, they start going this direction and you look over here and there's this wall. And you're thinking to yourself, I bet I can get up that wall if I'm a total fucking jackass. And then you do it over and over and over again, and now it's ingrained in you. You revisit all of these places that haven't changed except for your perception of them. Like the long jump in Mario 64, you become intimately familiar with the height and distance that the thing allows you to traverse, and all of a sudden there's all of these little in-jokes spread across the entire game. Oh, I bet I could get around that. Oh, I bet I could skip this gap now. Oh, why did I ever do this bullshit? You can combine the thing with side flips. You can combine the thing with wall jumps or long jumps. You can combine this with triple jumps to go ha-ha hoo-hoo wee in ways previously undiscovered by man. The high degree of aerial control in this game, while more forgiving than Mario 64, provides its own type of skill expression alongside liberal use of the thing in the form of spectacular last-second saves. And I appreciate that they did all of this to make up for the fact that the long jump still isn't as cool and sexy as it was 20 years ago. Just let me go fast with the long jump, Nintendo. Why do you hate gay people? Instead, the fastest way to move is... Yeah, so this is why every time you watch somebody speedrun Super Mario Odyssey, they gotta look like this. The implementation of the motion controls in this game is somehow worse in every possible way than it was in Super Mario Galaxy. There's all kinds of just random bullshit that's locked behind doing motion controls. Oh, you wanna climb up a flagpole faster? Start jerking off. You wanna do the coolest move in the game? Jerk off. You wanna roll around? Jerk off. Look how many buttons are on this goddamn controller. It's not 2007 anymore, Nintendo. We don't have to do this. And every time you bring this up, people are like, oh, well, like, you don't need to use them to beat the game. Okay. I also don't need to, jump. I'm not gonna watch this. The thing is, even though I think that in terms of the mechanics and options available to you, this game is at least parallel to Mario 64 in terms of its freedom and how much I just love to run around, but the problem is that they don't make old games anymore. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't just like nostalgia drivel, right? Games literally feel different to play now. Games are not designed the way that they were designed back in the day. Mario 64 does not have an input buffer the way that Super Mario Odyssey does. And you're probably playing it on some stupid smart TV that keeps asking you to turn on first-person shooter mode? What the fuck? And so while the movement in Mario Odyssey is like a warm blanket, the movement in Mario 64 is like, I don't know, cocaine. What are people into these days? Ketamine? Ketamine's popular, right? Okay, I don't think this is very much like Mario 64, actually.